Welcome to Being the Head, the human cost of leading schools. I'm Jackie Lemaitre, a former head teacher, now working in schools across the UK.
And I'm Jane, also a former head, now supporting leaders who carry more than most people ever realise. This podcast is the space we both wish we had for real conversations, not just the title.
So today's episode, our first episode, is the invisible weight, what leaders carry beneath the surface from burnout to boundaries. So, Jane, I'm going to ask you your first question of our first podcast ever.
I know, I'm very excited.
So excited. And we're so glad that people are joining us and want to listen to what we're saying. So thank you to everybody out there who's listening. First question. So, what's one leadership moment that nearly broke you and no one saw?
Oh, I think the one that sticks out for me was I was 3 weeks into my very first headship, and I'd taken over from a head teacher that had been there a significant number of years, so had really sort of developed that community feel. And I was the youngest member of staff there, which brings its challenges all of its own. But I think this one moment was having an open meeting with parents in my third week in and being heckled by one of the teachers from the back with the governing body behind me and external support, multi-agency supports, parents there. Thankfully, I was so focused on what I was saying that I actually didn't see this going on. But I was informed by the chair and the vice chair at the time about what had happened, and I had to take this person down, disciplinary. 3 weeks in, dealing with everything that new headship comes, and then having to have a difficult HR conversation with obviously a member of staff who was quite disgruntled. That is probably one thing that sticks in my mind. Putting yourself out there in quite a vulnerable position to be heckled by a member of staff I think it was probably one of those moments that won't ever leave me.
Do you think that, I just thinking of that and thinking about my own reflection on one point that nearly broke me in headship. When you step into headship, you move out of that chummy that chummy relationship with teachers where you have fun and you go to Christmas parties and you do all that. You're now in a different role, aren't you? And I think I've got a similar story. I think when I first, and I was seconded in as a head. I hadn't applied for the job. Wasn't really looking for headship, to be honest. And I remember my head at the time coming in and saying to me, we've had the phone call that I knew we were going to have. And I was like, oh, Ofsted. What's going on? That's what you immediately think of. She said, no, Jackie, they've asked if I'll release you for a secondment and do a headship. And I thought, oh, yeah, let's go. And I went to look around the school, and it was a lovely school, and it just wanted to be loved. It was just so idyllic. It was in the Cotswolds, so nice. And I didn't realise this at the time, but I actually wasn't wanted. And to be fair, there's been a lot of times that I've gone into secondments where I'm not actually wanted. I'm the right person to be there, but nobody actually fills you in that you're not wanted. So you're not part of a team. You have to create your own team. So you're walking into a team. And I think that the moment that it was like that, like, oh, I'm not wanted here, was because I'd been seconded in November, is they were organising the Christmas meal. And they were doing it while I was sitting in the staff room over the top of my head, but weren't inviting me at all. And then at Christmas, I bought everybody a poinsettia to say thank you for their hard work. And I remember coming back in January and every single one of those poinsettias are still there.
Are you joking?
And I kept it, and I went through my whole headship career then going, it's a poinsettia moment. That's what it is. Because I just thought, and I couldn't believe that you were going into a situation where you thought you were helping out, but actually they didn't want you there and would do anything for some reason, which I will never get out of my brain, why people don't want you. Maybe it's your leadership style. I don't think, I've done everything right in my leadership, but it was that poinsettia moment, and I've carried with me and thought, do you know what? It's just a poinsettia moment. I shall go through it and I shall have that steely rod because I'm doing it for the children. And that's what used to bring me back. But it's really hard.
It's
I
really
remember
hard.
going home crying,
Yeah.
and my husband go, get back up and get back out there. And, did you have that?
Well, I
you've
think
got to have that steely.
You do. I think that was one of the times I actually phoned you and you said, get in your car, Jane, go round the corner, don't let them see you cry. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Because I don't, you're, as a leader, you have to be very mindful about how you make others feel. And that's really
Definitely.
hard when you have to have those difficult conversations and you're trying to sort of be empathetic, but actually having that accountability. But they have a complete disregard as a leader that you're actually a human being with emotions yourself. It's almost like,
Yeah.
that Teflon is there. And I think
You're
that's
a
the hard
Teflon
bit.
queen, aren't you?
Oh,
Teflon
yeah.
queen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's hard to not show that and for them to understand. And it's, but there are certain moments like your poinsettia moment and the heckling, I think are ones that, no, I'll never forget. I can laugh about it now, but at the time, no.
Yeah. Do you find as you've gone through your headship that you have definitely got more resilient? Because I used to talk to you about this, didn't I? What did I used to say? Get your what skin on?
Get your
You remember
Kevlar. Your Kevlar.
Yeah.
No, get your rhino. Was it your
Rhino skin? I used to
that
say
was
to you,
it, yeah.
get your rhino skin on. That's what you've got to get. Sort of put your armor on almost, isn't it? And it's so wrong, isn't it? But it is what you have to have in order to kind of get yourself through it. And I'm not saying that everybody I've worked with was like that, because I've had some amazing people. But I remember my director of education saying to me when I first started, you need to find that one person that you can trust in your school whenever you start a new school. And it might not be a teacher.
No,
and that's what you've got to be very aware of.
Yeah, it could be anybody. I had to say it was the office manager, very professional, very professional lady. Didn't comment, but just kept it even, and absolute gem of a person. She really is. But it's hard, and you do change. You do become more resilient, and I think it just reminds me when you were saying you sort of learn. I think you've got to develop that. I've currently sort of just finished listening to an audio book called The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins.
Right.
And it's really good because it's about, it's about, that's what they think, let them, but it's how you respond, let me, how I'm going to respond to that. And my yoga teacher said to me a couple of weeks ago saying, Jane, what people think of you is actually none of your business. And I thought, that's really
that's a good
right.
way of saying it. Yeah.
Well, you know me, I like people to be right up front with me, but it's none of my business.
It's very true, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, what strategies do you think you've helped you survive now that you would love to have known?
I think take the opportunity to take a step back at the end of the week and actually focus on 5 things that have gone really well. 5 things that have gone really well this week, whether it's the fact that the child that was struggling came into school one day with a smile on their face, or the fact that 5 things, it doesn't have to be big things, but 5 little things that have gone really, really well, and then plan 2 things that you want to address or 2 things that you want to be able to achieve next week. So you're focusing on the positive rather than the negative, because as human beings, our natural state, our natural behavior is to focus on all those negative things, and actually that doesn't help. Things like that have happened, you've got to move on, and to keep that positivity is actually just those what's gone well.
So you have to make yourself focus on those positive things, because you will always read. I mean, it's like when you get a report on yourself, isn't it? You always read the negatives, but you forget the 101 positives, don't you?
What about yourself, Jackie? What do you use?
Do you know, I use quite a lot of humour and quite a lot of chocolate.
It's gin for me.
I think being quite bonkers is quite. I'm quite quirky, and I like not to be the run-of-the-mill person. I like to be something different, so that helps. And I remember having, a couple of ladies who worked in the office and one TA, and she used to come to me and used to go, "Is it a 2-flake day or a 1-flake day?" So so that helped me a lot. I think fitness for me, it absolutely has always, I mean, I was a PE student, so I was always interested in sport, and I played sport at a really good level. So I was quite interested in that respect. But I'm from a very early time realized that actually I needed to exercise to get rid of that angsty bit. So I either ran or I walked, and I always did it on a Wednesday after school. So I went to my governors quite early doors and said, on a Wednesday, I won't be having any meetings, or I won't be doing much after school, because that's the time that I exercise. And luckily, I had a chair of governors who really got that. And I wasn't talking leaving at 2 o'clock. I was talking about leaving at 4:30, going a little bit earlier, and making sure that I was in the gym running, and making sure I was doing some exercise, swimming or running or doing that. So exercise was a massive thing for me, that if I didn't get to exercise, that was a big point. And then this is the quirky side of me. 2 washing machines, Jane.
I remember you telling me that. I keep telling my husband, Jackie has two, one for her colours and one for her whites.
Because it's a little bit of my OCD. I can't stand piled up washing, so I had to have 2, so I get it done in a day. So, 2 washing machines. I used to say head to heads when I was training heads, there's 2 washing machines and get your nails done. And the reason I mean, I don't now so much, but the reason I used to do it was because I couldn't touch anything while I was having my nails done. I kept my nails or my hands still. I couldn't answer emails. I couldn't do anything. So I knew every 2 weeks for an hour, I would sit and somebody would hold my hands for me and do my nails. So those were the 2 things, like my washing machines. No, 3 washing machines, chocolate and nails. Not the normal things that you would expect to hear, really, but it did keep me going when I was first starting out in headship.
I don't know. And I think it's like you're saying those quirky things. But do you think leaders feel that they have the permission to say, actually, I'm not okay? Because I don't think I felt that. I thought
No.
I saw that as a sign of weakness, really.
Yeah, and people would unpick that into imposter syndrome, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Really, and they'd go back to your childhood about what is failure for you. Um, but no, I still don't think. I think, in my experience of meeting heads and working with heads, unless you know them really well, it's not somewhere you go very often, is it? Not unless you're given that role. I mean, I coach quite a lot of heads now, so I'm able to ask those questions about, are they okay? What's keeping them going, and what do they what do they do to make sure that they're fit and healthy and mentally and physically in the job. But I don't think there is a culture of saying that. And
I,
I definitely don't think there is any way out at the moment in the system of sorting it out. I mean, people are trying to do it, aren't they? With the well-being kind of initiatives that we've had in schools and things like that. And yet we've still got this horrendous statistic about
oh, yeah.
heads coming out of education, and people not wanting to go in it at all.
Yeah. Massive
So
recruitment
we
and
don't
retention.
seem to have cracked it, really, if that retention is not there. And how many times do you have to go out to advert, and then you're in that spiral because you've gone out to advert so many times. You kind of take on people that really may not be ready for the job, or may not be suitable for the job. I'm generalizing, but you know that for me is the most worrying thing, is we haven't got an industry where you can have those honest conversations
And
about,
being
what do we do?
authentic. Yeah, being
Mm,
authentic. And I think it's something that needs to be drastically addressed, that that should be part of the norm. Are you okay? Actually, no, I'm
mm,
not. And it
mm.
shouldn't be deemed as somebody being weak, because actually I think it's a strength if you can recognize that you're not in a good place or you're not okay. That shows a strength of character, not a weakness. So
Oh,
I do.
definitely.
Yeah.
But do you think, I mean, I'm like reflecting on that as you're speaking, and I think, who would actually ask that question?
I would hope it would be. maybe your chair of governors, or if you're in a trust, maybe your line manager. But for that, you need to have that professional trust, that openness within in an organization where you're not going to be judged, and where you feel that you can have that conversation and it not be stored away and used against you at at another time.
Mm.
Um,
Because those are the people who are gonna judge your performance as well.
oh, absolutely,
So that's a
absolutely.
really kind of oxymoron sort of
Or,
question, isn't it? About
well, yeah, or people, trusts, governing bodies invest in their leaders and insist, and it's part and parcel, that a head teacher has a coach, somebody that's
yeah,
independent. Um,
I think that's vitally important to have a coach. I mean, I insisted my staff had coaches when I was exec head because I just thought I had a absolutely fabulous coach who wasn't in education. She was brilliant.
yeah.
She was absolutely stunning, and she'd, you'd go and tell her stories, and she'd look at you and go, "You what?" Because she wasn't in education, she just couldn't kind of grasp it, and so she'd come at things in a completely, and you go, "Oh yeah, that is pretty bonkers what I'm being asked to do." But if you're in it, the person who should be asking you about your well-being is the person who's going to judge you. You're not gonna. I don't think you're gonna open up.
You're
And then
not.
the system is really flawed because then then you go off to these occupational health, and you. I mean, I've had
Ugh,
so many reports back on teachers and things like that. That's hilarious. Not hilarious in that sort of part, but I mean, I'm being very flippant. But you get these reports back, and they say they're stressed. And you think, yeah, I know they're stressed because our industry is very demanding. And those people in out of industry, the press, they're another part of it where they see one side of it, they don't see all of it. So, yeah, they are stressed, but with no solution to the problem at all.
yeah, there
So,
isn't. And it's just, I think it's piecemeal from what I'm seeing. It's very sort of box ticking rather than that authentic drive to improve well-being. Okay, well, if I only knew. So, what's one thing you wish you'd known before becoming a head, Jackie?
that people don't work the same way that I work.
Oh, yeah.
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 Personality wise was a massive piece of work that I did. I love the piece of work that I discovered. That was another one of my light bulb moments, was that actually people are wired differently to me. And it's been a great benefit because Jane, you're absolute pole to me, which is great.
Yes.
Because I'm a real blue sky thinker. And I wish I'd known this earlier because I would have been able to spot it in staff. I spot it in colleagues now, and I spot it in heads. Really explain the virtues of really understanding your staff. And the question I ask to my heads now is, where do you spend the most amount of money in your school budget? And it's
HR
always people.
and people,
It's
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
So if you don't know the people well and you don't know what drives them, then you can't lead them as well. You can lead them, but I firmly believe that you can't lead them as well. So I learned that actually my personality is the same as disaffected boys who've been expelled, which is why I used to get on really well with the boys that I taught, because we were wired the same way. We're totally wired that way, that we were blue sky thinkers, get the job done, but real about results and action and competition. The downside is when you take on too many people that have got your personality or have that really strong drive in results and action, because they sometimes lose the team. So I wish I'd known more about personalities and leading people when I started. There was nothing, and there's still, I don't think, much in training about actually getting to know the people and understanding them really well when you lead them.
No.
And understanding what, because then it kind of comes, it slots into place, doesn't it? Because you think, that's why they're doing that. That's why they're doing that. Rather than kind of, bashing up against, and you realize you become more tolerant, I think, and you can lead better when you become more tolerant.
And I think it also helps you with the way you communicate. So I know that
Definitely.
you did stuff with me when I first started, and to understand where I was coming from, but how my staff were not like that and what they needed to communicate was massive, because actually can't say it changed things overnight, but it made me more aware. And I did
Mm.
try to sort of adapt at how I communicated with them to meet their needs rather than for me. Because, for example, writing emails for me, if I'm writing a work email, I just need to know, just want to get this is what needs to be done, or can you tell me this question? But most teachers like what I call the fluff, and I'm not putting it down, but actually they like to know, oh, how are you? I hope you're feeling well. Well, for me, I'm just thinking, oh gosh, I just want to get on with the work because I've got the next thing to do. So stopping and actually thinking about what that email, who's that email going to, who the letter's going, and adding those elements into it to make it sort of more palatable, really, for those that it's going to, was key. I think was one of the key things, and that actually your personality changes as your experiences come in, and so that's always the same. But yeah, you always have that innate trait that never goes.
Definitely. I mean, what's your moment of mindfulness then this week, Jane? What do you
Um,
think?
for me, I think it's breathing. I know that really sounds bizarre, but actually, I've been doing a lot of work during the yoga sessions that I go to, and it's very much on about breathing. And most of us only breathe from our chest. We don't actually breathe from our lungs and things. Deep breathing and how you breathe actually affects your stress, and that's helps. And I think so when you're if I find myself in a situation where I can feel my sort of shoulders beginning to tense and that sort of those early warning signs, I sort of stop, take myself away, do a couple of rounds of that breathing, and just calm myself down.
That's so interesting. You don't really think about it at all. Your breathing, do you? You don't think about your breathing at all.
No, it does have a massive impact. Yeah.
Where did you learn that? Was that part of your yoga then?
Yeah, it's part of my yoga. So I do all elements yoga at the yoga studio I attend, and one of the classes I take on a Saturday, it uses I've forgotten what it's called, a jai breath or something. I can't remember, but you do it, and the breathing links to the movements and the poses, and it helps. And it's just I can't honestly. I go into that class and I just come out so chilled, so relaxed. It's amazing. It's really really good. And I have to say, I've only just got into yoga, but what a massive difference it's made. Really has made a
Mm.
massive difference. But
So your
yeah,
mind and your body,
yeah, absolutely,
mind and
absolutely,
body. Yeah,
yeah. So at the
I
age that
know.
I am, flexibility and balance is decreasing, but that's got lot better, a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah, do you think you could have built that time in for your yoga when you were doing that job that
No,
you've just,
no, I
yeah.
didn't, because I just prioritized work. Then, of course, it was prioritizing the family. I didn't do anything outside of work. It was 14-hour days, 12-hour days, work at the weekends,
Wow.
because I
Yeah.
thought that's
I
what was
remember working
needed.
weekends.
Yeah, you
Because you
know,
had to, I remember working weekends because you had to get the work done because you didn't get, because you were firefighting. I used to call it whack-a-mole.
yeah,
I was just banging down all the other things, trying to keep those things down. And then your own work, you never used to get done. So I used to sit on a Saturday and do it on a Saturday. So Sunday, and then of course, Sunday was all the other things that you have to do on a Sunday.
yeah,
So I ended up with sort of 3 hours, I reckon, on a Sunday by
yeah.
the time we started all over again. And won't be tired if anybody came back and said, oh, yeah, because of course you get all your holidays. Because that's always a red herring, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you don't.
No, you don't.
Let's just say no.
No.
Gone are the days when I think my mum's friends used to go off, though. Our teachers used to get in the caravan on the Friday they finished and go off to the south of France for 6 weeks. You just can't do it.
There's no way
Just
with
can't do it. It's impossible.
safeguarding and
Yeah.
everything else that needed to be there. It is just not possible at
I mean, do
all.
you know the statistics about around? I mean, they are horrendous around mental health
They
in
are just,
schools because
it.
I think they are quite stark, aren't they? Because I mean, you have got those things that the government kind of put in.
So I did some work-related illness. I came across some statistics on absence.
Oh, right.
Um,
Okay.
so that was quite interesting. And working days lost, a total number of working days. over 3 years, they are saying that in England alone, we're looking at an average of 26,397 days lost in total. Average days lost per worker, you're looking at 1.13 average days, and that's in England alone. Um, Over Great Britain, you're looking at 31,137 days, estimated lost working days in 12 months. That's massive. That is
Mm,
absolutely massive. And that down to depression, you're looking average rate per 100,000 employed, you're looking at 2,570 people putting down stress, depression, and anxiety caused or made by work, and that's the whole
right.
of the UK,
That's
which is
phenomenal, isn't it?
yeah, which is higher than the previous period. So it is
Mm.
increasing, and then you just look at the statistics that the DFE have come up with, and they're frightening. They're absolutely frightening. So I mean, you've got the wellbeing survey in 2024. 68% report that their job has adversely impacted their physical health in the last 12 months, which is up by 4% from 2022. 54% say that workload has been the main factor for this and for the main factor for increased work related stress, followed by pupil behaviour, monitoring and accountability measures, and pupil academic performance. And they're all, that's workload is up by 2% from 2022. Pupil behaviour is up by 36% from 12%.
What pupil behaviour incidents?
Pupil behaviours impacting on
Oh,
mental
okay,
well-being.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
87% have suffered loss of sleep. 84% saying low energy levels, 29% saying a loss of appetite. It's really, these are really horrendous statistics. 73% say their school does not provide staff with workplaces that promote well-being. 73%, nearly three-quarters of our school or staff are saying that their workplaces don't promote well-being, which fits in with what we were saying earlier, that it is just a tick box. It's not really being looked into. So
Yeah,
it's
there's so much there to unpick, isn't there? So
oh,
much there that we really haven't got to grips with.
no,
I mean,
no.
what's one thing that keeps you going then, Jane, do you think?
For me,
Getting that back to kind of what really matters for
it's the
work.
children. I
Yeah.
love when you're observing a lesson and you're looking at these children and you notice that one child where you can actually see that penny drop and you can actually see their facial expression and the confidence that suddenly blooms within them. Or you go in and you have a conversation with one of the reception children and they're telling you, and it's that thirst for learning, and they're just pure innocence is just so refreshing. And I think it's wanting to do the best for those children, and it's always having them at the heart. And I think I've always said, I mean, my babies are grown up now, but wherever I go, if that education provision is not something that I would accept for my own children, then it's not good enough for the children that I'm there to serve. So for me, I think it's the children. What about you, Jackie?
Oh, I'm exactly the same. I have to say that. I mean, if I could say one thing that I would not want to give up, it's spending time with the children. It's spending time in classrooms that is the absolute joy to see those children learning. And when you see an amazing, brilliant teacher, and this week I've seen some stunning teachers that clearly are absolute credit to the profession, it's just joy. It's just joy. It really is. And those children are thriving and they're enjoying learning and they're getting the best that they possibly can. That is what keeps me going, I think. Definitely.
I think so. And I think also when you work with new leaders, seeing them grow, seeing them grow in confidence and what they do is really rewarding as well. Really rewarding. It's knowing that the sustainability is there to carry
Yeah,
on.
definitely.
Okay, Jackie, what message do you want to leave every school leader with today?
Keep doing what you're doing. Keep focusing on the real goal, which is making a difference for children. And all can I say too?
Yeah, you go on.
Make time for yourself. Find a little bit of time where you can go and do what you want to do once a week. I don't think that's unreasonable. I really don't think that's unreasonable. After the school has finished, the children have gone. And if you model it well, your staff will appreciate it and they will start doing the same, which is what happened in my school. So those are my two. What about yourself, Jane?
I would say what you've just said is make sure you set aside those boundaries and do something for yourself, because if you look after yourself, you'll be able to be a better person to others and be more compassionate and empathetic. And you can't do that if you're tired and drained. And like you've just said, if you model it, then your teachers will follow in the same vein. So absolutely, absolutely.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for sharing all the things that you shared today as well.
So if you're a school leader and you're struggling, please know you're not alone. Reach out to support networks, set those boundaries, and prioritise you.
Yeah, and in the notes below this, you'll see that we've left some support resources for you. There's the educational support helpline. There's the Heads Up network, DFE School Leaders Wellbeing, and the Supervision for School Leaders. So,
If this helped, please share it with a colleague and subscribe for more conversations about what it really means to be the head.
and thank you so much for joining us on this journey. It's a new venture for both of us. So, being the head, the human cost of leading schools, we see you, we stand with you, and we will see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.